Hey, and welcome to the Rod Kirby Show, the podcast that covers the ever-expanding world of film and entertainment. Today, my special guests are Ryan Watt and Matteo Servente. Ryan is the former executive director of Indie Memphis, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the development of the Memphis film community. He's also a former producer at the Paper Moon Films production company. Matteo is an award-winning filmmaker known for projects such as We Go On, La Serena, and various other films. Not only have the pair worked together on movies, but recently, they decided to partner on an even bigger project, an authentic Italian gelato shop called Gelato. Join us as we discuss their journey from filmmakers to entrepreneurs on today's episode of The Rod Kirby Show. Hello there, and welcome to another episode of The Rod Kirby Show. I am your host, Rod Kirby, filmmaker extraordinaire, or something like that. Today I've got two really cool and awesome people on the show today, Mr. Ryan Watt and Mr. Matteo Servente. Now, Ryan is the former executive director of Indie Memphis, as well as a former producer at Paper Moon Films. And then Mr. Matteo, you all know him as he is actually the filmmaker extraordinaire, cinematographer, director, and writer himself. So got those guys on the show today, and let's go ahead and bring up Mr. Ryan. Hello there, sir. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Thank you so much for being on the show. Ryan, you've had quite a journey from going from filmmaker and producer now to entrepreneur with a new business that you launched about 6 months ago, right?
Yeah, I know when you bring Matteo in, he kicked it off, and once I saw what he was up to, I joined on with him and became his business partner.
Well, let's bring Matteo up.
Yeah.
Matteo, hello there, sir. How are you?
I'm great, Rod. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being on the show, man. So look, you guys put your collective minds together. First of all, you're at the core of each of you is film. Am I right? So you both are filmmakers, but now you are joining in this new venture. You have a gelato company called Gelato. Tell us a little bit about how that came about and when that idea was born.
It's been a journey. The fact that we partnered on it became almost like full circle of Ryan and my connection. But the original seed was planted because I've always had like a passion for Italian food and shared with friends, and I like to make pasta and pizza for them, and all handmade. So handmade is kind of my brand. And,
oh, nice.
And I was looking for something to try to import here to the States, and I partnered with this gelato maker in Italy who makes gelato kind of the old-fashioned way and mixes it all by hand. So I said, that's my thing. I tried to import it here, and the pandemic happened, so all the thoughts that I had before kind of went out of the window, but it kind of opened another door for the partnership with Ryan, and also for the business model being what it has become in the last few months.
So where did you two meet, Ryan? When did you meet Mr. Matteo?
So when I was producing films, I met Matteo. He had moved here a couple years prior to make a feature film called The Romance of Loneliness, and I had just gotten into producing and met him as I was producing my first couple features, and then we were able to make that movie in, I think it was 2009. No, is that right, Matteo?
Yeah, about
whatever year the floods happened. So, because, all of downtown was flooding while we were filming.
Right.
So, it freaked out a lot of the actors and people that traveled in. They're like, I don't know if this house is going to go underwater. But so yeah, we got to work together in that capacity, and then have stayed, friends and colleagues throughout the years through film. And then my time with Indie Memphis, obviously, working with Matteo because we'd be showing a lot of the films that he's been creating over the years.
Right.
So he mentioned a few years ago his interest in starting a gelato shop. And so, yeah, as he said, kind of during the pandemic, I went by his place, and he gave me a taste of chocolate and pistachio, which would already be two of the flavors I'd be ordering anyway. And when I had it, I was like, okay. I was like, This is not something I've had near Memphis before. This is something totally authentic, and so I was sold.
Yeah,
to partner.
that's awesome. So Matteo, with the Gelato company, I know you see this as a full-time thing. I know you're working full-time. This is your vision. Are you still making room for film? You're not, I know you're not ditching film, of course. I mean,
Right.
When the bug bites you, you bit, you never leave it, right? But
Yeah.
how are you balancing, entrepreneurship with, being a filmmaker?
Well, it's a tricky balance, of course. In a way, the fact that the pandemic happened and kind of made film work very, very sparse, and so it didn't really happen. So I had really time to focus on this. And when I started just with the idea of starting a small business, I knew, and everybody was warning me, just for a while, just get in the mindset that this is going to have to become your focus, if it's not the sole focus. But the good thing about the way I like to work is that I like to find partners, and so that makes it possible. I mean, I have a couple of projects that I've worked throughout the last year with another team of people, Joseph Card, Molly Wexler. And so it's like, I like to work with people that can help with the workload. Definitely on this enterprise of the Gelato thing, having Ryan on board makes the whole difference. Just because I realize right now, as we try to get a little bit bigger, not only do I not have the competence in certain field that Ryan brings to the table, but also even if I did, I wouldn't have the time to practically put it all together. It's amazing how much goes into a business that, we're managing, thinking that it's a small business, but especially in the beginning, it's amazing. And I'm hoping that eventually it will kind of become a little less. But there will be more. Hopefully, there will be more of other things.
Right, and I'm sure. Well, I know for a fact that entrepreneurship and filmmaking they're two different skill sets, but they still kind of utilize the same tact and resources. You kind of have to do everything yourself, especially when you're an indie filmmaker. Ryan, coming from Indie Memphis, how did your experience there kind of help you transition into the entrepreneurial lifestyle that you're living now?
Yeah, and for me, it's even the opposite. I started as an entrepreneur, so it was really sort of how the entrepreneur bug and mindset helped me when I jumped into filmmaking. 15 plus years ago now, I had a technology company, which is an offsite data backup company before the cloud was a thing. So we were set up in the Emerge Memphis building downtown, and we would have small businesses, law offices, doctor offices, people like that we would have software that would encrypt all of their server data, then upload it every night. And I jumped into that basically straight out of college while waiting tables to really help pay the bills. And so when I got involved in producing, I did not have I didn't go to film or communication school. I didn't come from sort of the artist background. So I think it was helpful because I didn't know what I didn't know. So I started doing things, whatever felt right. And made a million mistakes and learned from them. But anyway, so I think there's a definite, producing is entrepreneurial. But then when I got to Indie Memphis, same thing, because I also had not come up working in nonprofits. So I didn't have a preconceived idea of, this is how you're supposed to do things. And I very much treated Indie Memphis like a business, because in the end, there's the revenue and the expenses, and you need more revenue than expenses. if you just base it on that. But also just the salesmanship, the raising money, sponsorships, grants. So all that stuff translates right back into this business. It's kind of like Matteo was saying, full circle. It's kind of hopefully taking what I've learned in these various previous businesses and projects and organizations, and hopefully making slightly less mistakes each time I go on to the next thing. At the same time, aside from waiting tables, I've never been involved in a food business, so that's actually part of why I'm so excited about it is because it's just a totally new thing to learn.
Yeah, this is a new adventure for you.
Yeah, and new, even the people side of things, it's all new relationships. I mean, every time we meet a restaurant owner or a owner of a market, it's not from my current network. It's a whole new group of people. It's been really interesting.
Yeah. So, Indie Memphis, for those that are watching or listening, Indie Memphis is one of the premier, nonprofit organizations in Memphis that are really helping to build up the independent filmmaking community. And Matteo, I know you've entered a lot of short films into their film festivals. What are you working on right now?
At the moment, I have a couple of documentaries that are in the works. One is mainly focused on the renovation of the river parks, and then the other one is a documentary that I started working on a few years ago, and it kind of centered on lynchings. So a very tricky subject to deal with, especially for a white guy from Italy, of all things. It just came, but it was a very a series of events that led me to that project. I made a short out of it, and there's the potential for a feature documentary that is kind of in the works. And then I have a project, for a feature narrative film that Ryan has been part of since its beginning. That it's called Nessun Dorma, No One Sleeps in Italian, and La Sirena is kind of a short film that we made as part of that. So it's kind of the seed for that feature is part of the short that we shot last year. Well,
cool.
2 years ago, actually.
Yeah. And I saw La Sirena at last year's Indie Memphis. It was digital. It was, unfortunately didn't do the, because of COVID, they didn't do any in-person screenings, but I did see it and it was great. I love the cinematography. And for those that are, watching, it's really awesome little piece, kind of a fairy tale-ish type of feel. It's got a kid in a rural community looking for a mermaid.
Correct.
Really
couldn't have
cool.
summed it better.
Well, let's take a quick look at a trailer for La Sirena, and then we'll come back and talk about it, shall we?
Sure.
And so this is your short film, La Sirena.
Somebody worried about you, hon?
Child Services. Hello?
We're gonna need a car. My grandma said La Sirena killed him.
La Sirena? The mermaid?
All right, that was awesome, man.
Thank you.
I give you some hand claps. I'd do that. Ryan, were you a producer on that as well?
I was not. Basically, when that was coming together, I just had to keep my focus on Indie Memphis. I will add, though, that it did technically have an in-person screening because we showed at the Levitt Shell. We did show as many Memphis-made movies as we could, whether it was at the drive-in or wherever. But the digital screenings allowed so many more people to discover them. And we saw that the amount of views for short films went way up because of the digital options last year. So it was kind of a win-win in that sense.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Matteo, on that production, where did that idea stem from? I know you said it's the seed for a feature film that you're working on, but where did the overall idea originate from?
It's a story that I had in mind for a long time, and it's kind of inspired by these relationships that I've always been fascinated with between kids and older people. And specifically when I was, in elementary school, there were days when I knew that my parents would be late to pick me up. And so I knew that I had to wait for them at this barber shop right by the school. And so I became part of this circle of adult people talking to each other as if kids were not around. And so it became very fascinating. And so that setting was the seed for the film. And then I added all the characters around them based on descriptions of random people that I'd heard through the years. But the focus is really just this relationship between young kids
Right.
and older people. Yeah.
What was the most challenging aspect of that production? Anything, any crazy stories you can share with us that happened?
I mean, I guess it's everything and nothing is crazy sometimes on production. I mean, I'm sure you know it. It's like it was a pretty smooth production overall. I mean, I guess you can always say yes, maybe a little bit more money would have made it less crazy,
Right.
But you know, we were trying to get these actors that have been kind of supportive of the project to come in from other places, and so maybe flying people over, or you know, it was pre-pandemic, so not as challenging, but still expensive. I guess the decision whether to make it or not was probably the biggest one, because there is this sense: does a short film based on a feature help the case for the feature film?
Right.
And so we decided, okay, yes, it made sense for us at that point, because we felt like we were kind of hitting a wall. So we had a little bit of money, let's try to use it and see if it shakes the water. I guess in a way it did, at least creatively for me. Unfortunately, to a certain extent, the pandemic kind of put a stop to what could have been the connections made at festivals and stuff like that, in person. As Ryan said, you know, definitely more people saw the movie than probably they would have been, you know, in person at festivals, but you missed that opportunity to attend and network and do all the things that you do at festivals sometimes. But overall, no regrets about making it. You always have regrets about, I could have made it better. That's normal.
Yeah, and I know what you mean, because my last short film, I had the same issue of bringing in actors. Now, my actors were mostly local. They were in the South area. I had one that came from Atlanta, another came from Nashville, and then one that came from Gulfport, Mississippi. And only had them for a weekend. So, you know, no one could do overtime. No one could stay. It's like, hey, I got to go back to work. So we were just rushing the whole weekend. So I totally understand that. But I'm glad you got it out, because as creative, you know, you got that idea out of your head and actually onto the screen. That's you know, very, very important.
That's always the most rewarding thing, you know, to see that even now, just watching the trailer, I said, oh yeah, we actually did make it.
Right.
So that's good.
It's something pretty cool.
Yeah, it's out there.
Ryan, as a producer, putting your producer hat back on there, and yes, I did my fingers with the producer hat because I do that. As a producer, you know, are proof of concept short films valuable to producing a feature film? I mean, clearly Matteo is using that as a stepping stone to get his project up and running. But what do you think? What are your opinions on that?
Well, it's something, you know, with my involvement with the feature and development, it's something we talked about a lot, and, you know, there's no clear answer to it. I think there's positives and negatives, but I think certainly the positive is, you know, you can go down the line and think of many features that did come out of shorts. Just the one that jumps in my head is Whiplash, was a really well-received short film in Hollywood that made that feature happen. So it's a chance to kind of, you know, show potential investors or executive producers what you can do. At the same time, I guess maybe a catch-22 is you got to be really happy with it and proud of it, because you know, it's got to really show off what you can do. But I think in the end, what Matteo said, just to be able to, and like you said too, just to take some of that creative energy and put it to use, so it's not just sitting as a script on a shelf. I think in the end, it's worth it for that either way. So I think it's all case by case. I don't think anyone could say they're always a great idea or always a bad idea.
Right. And I remember Robert Rodriguez, he did a short film version of Sin City. You know, that's how he got his movie financed. way back in the day. I think that was 2004 or 5. But he did that opening scene with Josh. I think it's Josh Hartnett. That opening scene where there's the guy that shoots the lady, and it was all in red and black and white and had that comic book style. He shot that first and presented that to the studio, and they was like, "Oh, we do like this. Let's go ahead and greenlight that movie." So, like I said, it can be positives, but of course you have to kind of weigh it against resources and management of time and all that good stuff. So, I think for people that are watching or listening, it's just one of those things where you have to kind of figure it out. What do you want to really invest in? And as Matteo said, if you invest in an idea, you can of course get something you're proud of out of it all.
I have to jump just because you mentioned Rodriguez during the pandemic. He the story of his career, his first book that he wrote, is one of the books I read, and I think it's El Mariachi, maybe I'm getting, or whatever that first feature was, and he in Austin he participated in an extensive medical experiment to get the money.
Interesting.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, for months was like locked in this thing, injected by whatever. Half the people would have the placebo, half would have the real thing, and the money he got to like buy the camera and the film stock was really the main cost. So yeah, he really hustled.
Which brings us to an interesting question, Matteo. What would you do to raise a budget?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've done a lot through the years to raise budget.
Anything illegal?
The movie that Ryan mentioned, Romance of Loneliness. When we were really trying to make it, and we hustled. We were selling lemonades at lemonade stands like little kids on, South Main.
Yeah.
And did, through little parties where we acted like fools and, just tried to convince people about our ideas. I mean, yes, I have not enrolled in any kind of experimental medical treatment, but I think I've paid my dues.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's always nice to keep some kind of sanity and not lose yourself completely for a project. I mean, I have several friends, and I've heard of many very accomplished people who, for the sake of their dreams, are willing to do whatever.
Right.
Maybe I don't belong to that category fully, in the sense that I'm very passionate. I don't give up very easily. I mean, so much so that this feature that Ryan and I have been on, we're on year 7, almost 8.
Wow.
But not to the extent of saying, here's all of my belongings. I'm going to just put it and bet it all on my feature. But still, I don't give up easily.
Well, Ryan, with the feature that you all are working on, how has it been raising the budget? I mean, what tips or tricks or techniques are you using to get that budget together and to bring the project together?
Well, I mentioned the feature he was just talking about, the first one that literally selling pink lemonade on South Main and all these house parties. I mean, we, and even before I met Matteo, he and the co-director Sarah had spent a couple of years already raising money. So we ended up somehow getting around a $90,000 budget, which was a ton of money. But what we did, it was stretched so thin that we were all just absolutely killing ourselves. And so I think we got to the point where we're like, okay, every filmmaker's got to do those films. You do the film, everyone barely gets paid. I mean, they got paid, but you're asking favors from everybody. And then after you do it, you kind of say, okay, we got to do it for real next time. Like people need to get paid what they're worth, and we need to stop just completely exhausting every ounce of our energy to where it loses what's fun and exciting about it. So basically, to answer your question, we felt like we've got to get some really top actors that could justify funding from investors. And there are 1 or 2 really huge names that we had attached to this project during different periods of time. and that's always like the first piece. And it's like, okay, you're trying to make 12 pieces all come together at the right time, and we would always get a couple and then could never get everything quite lined up. So that was the strategy, and I felt like it was kind of the only strategy because otherwise it was doing it like we did before, which is okay for a short film, but to do that for a 90-minute film, at least I just, I've already done a few of those. I can't do, I'm not in my 20s anymore or whatever. I can't do that anymore. So so I think it's the right strategy. It just, the stars haven't aligned yet.
Yeah. Matteo, what's in your director's toolkit? So when you're on set, what do you have to have with you at all times in order to be successful on a project?
My crew. That is the answer. The true answer is really that. I've always thought it's pretty interesting how much we are attached to this label of filmmakers. And then you think about it, and I'm 46 and I've made 5 shorts. So I mean, it's not like somebody who has a chance to be on set all the time and do things. So I have a very limited toolkit because of my experience is limited. I've been working in films and trying to make films for a long time, but when it comes to my own projects, I've only directed a few shorts and a couple of documentaries. So the crew is the toolkit, and it's not like a way of saying, oh, it's not a nice thing to say. It's the absolute truth.
Yeah.
Because I don't know much about lighting. I don't know much about editing. I don't know much about even writing is something that I know that I have stories in me, but I'm not the best writer. I need help with writing, cameras, and in every aspect. Producing, I mean, of course, just like, even if I'm part of the process, but when it comes to the nitty gritty and the competence in just doing things that, finding, if I have, let's say, a talent, is that I've not really regretted the partnership with any of the people that I've worked with in the past.
Right.
And so I think I know how to choose collaborators, and so maybe, and it's fortunately something that, people have come back to work with me. So maybe I'm not the worst person to work with. In a way, it means that maybe in the toolkit, you should put also some kind of personal skills to avoid, burning all the bridges around you, because it happens easily in this profession.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, film is it's a people first industry. We're making projects, but we're also serving each other in some form or fashion in order to serve and make the project. So it makes sense to make sure that you have the nicest of manners and you can talk to people without being a jerk.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Ryan, what is your secret sauce for success? Because I mean, you've done been the executive director of a nonprofit. You've had dealings with other businesses, and of course producing in films. So what's your secret sauce? What is your secret? I want to know. How can I buy it? Is it at Costco? Can I get it at Walmart? What is it?
I would say it's a combination of I mentioned even that first business out of college. I basically I tried some normal job interviews where I've been selling insurance or selling this or that, and didn't get those jobs. I'm kind of glad I didn't. So from then on, I've just decided just to follow my passion. So for me, it's that nothing ever feels like work. So whether it's a movie I'm producing because I'm excited about it, or when I was, director at Indie Memphis, I mean, that didn't feel like work to me. I mean, I would just jump out of bed every morning excited. And that's how, it feels with Zio Amato Gelato. How can you not enjoy eating gelato? I mean, my kids are so excited about it. But on the flip side, I have to say, having an extremely supportive family. So I'm in my wife's home office. I just kicked her out for this podcast. So
nice.
I'm very lucky that she enjoys the corporate style job, and she's a badass at what she does. And so she's so from day one that she met me, was very understanding that I was kind of taking a more entrepreneurial path that's going to go like this a lot.
Right.
So, passion's one thing, but without the support, I couldn't do it. So it's
Right.
Those together.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, Matteo, you have anyone that really supports you other than, of course, Ryan and the connections you made in the film industry? Anybody, special that supports you in your work?
Absolutely. I mean, it's, I couldn't do this by myself. I have my Italian family, parents, and they're all away geographically, but very close.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have a new family because, me and my partner have not been together for many, many years, but, we've been together for a while, and we just welcomed our first child a few months ago, which is kind of another little, thank you, another little startup project.
Yeah.
And and I feel very, very supported in everything that I do. I mean, it's, I've been very, very much relying on myself when it came to myself. But then, the older you get, the more you realize, yes, you felt like you were relying on yourself. Instead, other people are just, you rely on yourself because everybody else got your back. So it's nice to have that feeling, and it's a refreshing thought to have and focus on every morning and say, okay, you're not by yourself.
Right. So you have a boy or girl?
It's a little boy, 9 months old. Yep.
How many months?
9.
9 months. I had a little boy in January, so he's 3 months old.
All right. Look at you. Congratulations to you too.
Look at all these dads on camera.
Okay. Well, look at that. Exactly. Ryan is the veteran here in that department.
Yeah, I've got a 4 and 6-year-old boy. Rod, is it a boy or girl?
It's a boy. Yep.
Oh man, we
kind of just started almost a basketball team.
Yeah. We definitely need to get together and have a dad's night out and watch some movies or something, huh?
Yeah, there you go. See, no masks from today, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
They say.
Here is a little graphic I found on Zio Mato Gelato. For anyone that is watching that's interested in the Memphis area, you can get it at different markets in Memphis, as well as on your website, which is ziomato.com. And you can find them on Facebook as well. I'm really looking forward to trying out your you got some cookie dough, I'm sure, right? Some kind of cookie dough.
We're working
strawberry?
on that too. Yeah, we're working on a lot of new flavors. We have 6 at the moment, so we are not covering everybody's palate yet, but
you're working on it. That's all that matters.
We're definitely working on it. Yes. Yeah,
That's
and the
awesome.
locations, of course, keep growing and changing. So we got an updated list constantly on social media and the website. So more coming soon.
Follow them. That's at Zio Mato on Gelato on Facebook and Instagram. And did I miss anything? You guys got a secret business that you're not telling anybody about? A secret project you're working on? Anything? What's next for you, Ryan? What's going on next for you in the producing world, if anything?
Well, I mean, with this new business and just with it being summer, I mean, we have to take really full advantage of the warm weather. So I don't have any other business projects on my plate, but as far as producing, I'm just kind of sitting back when the time's right and the right thing comes across. Obviously, Matteo's film, we still occasionally there'll be a burning fire and there's a potential thing, so we keep our eyes on that. And then also just my time from Indie Memphis, I'm hoping to sort of consult or advise with maybe some other arts nonprofits of just kind of what I learned from that experience. And so anyway, but right now it's all gelato. It's all gelato.
Was that the main driving force for you initially leaving Indie Memphis? Was this new partnership?
So yes, related is we are moving, sadly, bittersweet. Oh, yes. Okay. So my wife that I mentioned, she worked at Medtronic for 10 years here in Memphis, and got this really amazing job opportunity. But with pandemic, she's been working remotely. So we're waiting till kids are done with school, and then we're moving to the Nashville area in about a month.
Okay.
But my family, my sister, parents all live here. And so with the business, I'm just going to be commuting back and forth to get things really going here. If it goes well, possibly we can see if we can expand the business to other cities. But that was really the main thing that, it wouldn't make sense to be running Indie Memphis from Nashville. So
Right.
I tried to give the organization a big heads up so they had plenty of time to really find the right person. And the new ED, Knox Shelton, I think is going to do a great job.
That's awesome. And I think you're right. I think that is the move is an opportunity. It's not just an opportunity for your wife, but an opportunity for you and Matteo to enter new markets. That's pretty cool. It all kind of works out.
Yeah, that's right. There's two of us, so we can work in two different cities. Yeah. But no, I'm really proud that this is a Memphis-based business, though. So I'm excited about hopefully us creating something here that can grow.
Cool. I guess we lost Matteo there. Just
and
dropped on out.
He's like, I'm done with this.
Hey, you peaced out on us, man.
The computer just crashed all of a sudden. I am so sorry about that. Yeah, I knew the story that Ryan was telling, though. I was too upset about hearing the story of Ryan moving again.
It's all good, man. Well, look, I'm definitely looking forward to trying out some gelato. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try and come out there this weekend. You guys doing a pop-up this weekend? Anyone?
We're at the farmers market downtown every single Saturday morning, right there by Powerhouse, Malco.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So that's at least one of us is there every Saturday morning. So yeah, come see us.
Sounds good. Matteo, anything? Any last words from you? Anything that you're working on secretly in your heart that you want to let people know?
No, I feel like my plate is pretty full. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
Well, good. Well, guys, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about your lives and your entrepreneurship and business. You all can connect with me, Rod Kirby, at rodkirby.com or at Rod Kirby on pretty much all social media platforms. This is the Rod Kirby Show, and I appreciate everyone watching and listening. And we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. Peace out.
Thanks, Rod.
Thank you.